This episode of Danger Talk is sponsored by DraftKings, America's top-rated daily fantasy app.
Welcome back to Danger Talk, Russell Wilson's podcast. I am Jeff Dye. Russ, what a week, bud.
Yeah, it's been a good week, man. We got a huge win in Washington to beat those guys. They had a great defensive line to come off that win and come back home, man. It's a long ways. It's a 5.5 hour flight all the way out there. So to come home, we get to sit in first class, Jeff. Coach, we still have to sit in the back. We have to sit in the back on the way there. But if we win, we get to sit in first class. So I get to stretch out and lay my legs out and just enjoy the flight home.
Well, we talked about it a little bit with Aaron Andrews, but I sensed some discomfort. My bad. I sensed that you and Aaron were a little uncomfortable when I was referencing the field conditions and RG3 and all that. But that field sucks, man, right? Like, it's just not a great field to run around and play on. I mean, how was it this time? Is it fixed? Is that not true? Am I wrong?
Yeah, historically it's been bad. This time it was actually okay because nobody had played on it in like 2-3 weeks or whatever. And I think they had gotten some rain and stuff like that. So it was okay. There were still some bumps in the road there that the grass come up a little bit, but it wasn't quite as bad as it has been historically. But yeah, everybody was made it through safe for the most part, and I think that's a key thing.
Yeah, what was clicking out there, man? It seemed good. It was just an easy. I didn't feel stressed out this game. Maybe a little towards the end there, but I felt like I was like, we got this. This is Russ's. He's cooking.
Yeah. So it was we ran the ball really well. I think that was a good thing. We really just kind of dominated the run game. The game went by so fast. I think we only had the ball for like 26 minutes or something like that, which is kind of crazy. But to be able to efficiently run it the way we were, to be able to do that was key. We made our passes when we needed to. Hollister made a sweet catch in the end zone. And so I thought to get a good win against a really, really good team across the board. I think in in Washington, I should say. I want to say the Redskins all the time because I grew up there. But to get a good win against the Washington football team was key.
Yeah, it's and to talk about just how stinking good you've been since you've you were great in college, but since you've been in my sphere of Seattle-ism, you made the playoffs again. 8 out of your 9 seasons. I mean, this is huge for Seahawks fans and everything. Tell me about the locker room afterwards.
Everybody was fired up, bro. Everybody was lit. I mean, Jamal was going crazy. Everybody's going crazy. Everybody's celebrating. Just it's a big deal to go back to that. And we should have won. We should have gone Super Bowl, or not Super Bowl, the playoffs that the other year that we didn't get to go.
Sure.
We should have gone that year too. But it's been to 8 years in the playoffs. It's a big deal. Man, the reality is some of the greatest players of all time have never been in the Super Bowl, have never won a Super Bowl, have never been in the playoffs, some of these guys. And it's like, man, you can't take these moments, you can't take winning for granted. A lot of people want to take winning for granted, and you can't. You got to make winning a habit, and we've made that a habit. And I think it's because of the leadership of guys like Bobby and others and KJ, and it's been a lot of fun.
Well, it takes a village. That's the hard part. You might be a fantastic position player on a team that just isn't there yet, but you've found yourself on that team, and you've been the leader of all of those teams. It's been so fun to stink and watch. Some of those guys, some of those clips after the game of them being all jacked up, being, cursing and going, hey, you guys are used to this. I'm not. It was intoxicating to see in a big moment for 2020, as far as everything's kind of been doom and gloom, and it's been exciting to watch. I hope you guys talk about it in the episode, but a lot of the basketball players we've had on there have talked about the toll it takes on your body, and a lot of just we've heard a lot of that kind of talk, but nothing's like football. I mean, that's a toll on your body. So going into the playoffs, who's healthy, who's hurt? Do you feel good? What do we got? What are we looking at?
Yeah, I think everybody's feeling great, and Josh Gordon's getting back too as well, which will be exciting. And but yeah, I mean, Greg Olson's getting healthy. He should be ready to roll this week, hopefully. So yeah, I think there's it's a good time. I think we got a great chance in Seattle. I think we got a great chance to do it everything that we've wanted to set out to do at the beginning of the year. And I think that's the key. That's the fun part. So hopefully we can make all of that happen. So to be healthy at this point of the year, though, in the late December, into
it's nice.
Like I always say, you want to get to December with a chance, and we got a great chance, and I think that's a good thing.
Russ, before you came to Seattle Seahawks, the NFC West was famously a pretty bad division. Literally every team wasn't great. They were there, but they weren't great. It seems like since you've came to the NFC West, all the teams in the NFC West are good. The Rams are always a big game. The Cardinals are always a big game. It's 49ers are good. Like it's very, very frustrating. And you've still found a way to make the playoffs 8 out of your 9 seasons. And it's arguably 9 out of 9 is what it should. Very, very, very close. And you're a good sport about that. But almost every single year. I mean, how is that possible? And do you think it's frustrating to have to play in the NFC West?
Well, yeah, I think our division is definitely the best in football. It's been challenging for, the past 9 years, and I've had to go with some of the greatest players to ever play this game kind of thing. It's been a battle, you think about the Bowman, you think about Bowman, the linebacker for, the 49ers, you think about Willis, you think about the Smith brothers for 49ers back in my younger days. You think about, obviously Larry Fitzgeralds of the worlds and all the kind of great players, the Carson Palmers, and you think about, some of the other teams we've had to play with the Rams and just, the type of defenses and players they've had. You think about, obviously we're going up against this week against arguably one of the greatest defensive players of all time and Aaron Donald. So we've had some crazy matchups, and every one of these games matters. Every one of these games is like, it's like a battle, man. It's like a war out there every time. And so I think the reality is that going into this week and how we've been able to do it, and sustain success is, I think the first thing, how you sustain success is you focus on the process. You focus on the consistency of the process. You focus on the language and the culture and the team and the growth of the team throughout every day, every week. And it's an everyday commitment. It's an everyday thing I always tell guys. But I think also too is, for me personally, I've always looked forward to the big matchups. I've always looked forward to the big moments. And I think that you don't shy away from them. You look forward to them. And I think the reality is that they know that you look forward to them too. And it's always going to be a great game. I think that's what I.
But how do you do that after Christmas? It's the day after Christmas, and you got to play the Rams. Those bums.
Well, I think it's always anytime you get in the holiday season, that's when football is really alive. It's like Thanksgiving Day, Christmas weekend. It's one of those things that you look forward to playing on those days, those matchups, and so I look forward to this one for sure. The reality is this is the NFC West Championship here coming this Sunday, pretty much. It's
a big deal.
It's a great game, and we got to be ready to play ball. We'll be ready to roll.
Oh, and how many fingers you got, Russ?
How many fingers I got?
Yeah, you got 10 fingers.
If you count these thumbs.
That means we got 9 more Super Bowls to fill up those paws, buddy. That's what I'm looking at.
We got to finish these things up here.
Well, let's talk about our podcast right now. We've got a phenomenal guest coming up. We've had awesome guests in the past. We've had Shaq, John David Washington, CP3, Joe Montana, Ken Griffey Jr., Candace Parker. We've had a bevy of phenomenal friends of yours and guests of the podcast and friends of the podcast. But another milestone, besides the fact that you're the youngest winningest quarterback in the first 9 seasons, and you just all these huge things keep happening in your career, and it's awesome. You have 100,000 subscribers on the YouTube.
Yeah, we just started. YouTube just sent me this thing here. It's pretty cool.
Yes, so
it's
congratulations.
Play button or whatever. So we're growing this YouTube thing. So it's cool. We've been growing it, here, slowly but surely here, and it's been cool. And DangerTalk's growing like crazy, and it's a blast.
Big deal. What you're holding right there, that silver play button, is a huge thing to get 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. If you get 100,000 more, it means you have to box Jake Paul. I think that's what that means.
Yeah, I'll be ready to swing, but we'll have to get that to 1 million here soon. So the more people listen, we put some cool stuff on there. So that's a testament to my team, Westy's team, and everybody does all the hard work, and they do a great job, and Daniel Moggy's helping lead the way there. But it's been fun, and hopefully we can continue to grow it. So I'm super fired up about today, Jeff Dye. We got an amazing guest, and she is from a big Seattle light type person for us. You know what I mean? So Jeff, you're a big Seattle guy, aren't you?
Week after week, Russ, we get these Shaquille O'Neals and the Dwayne Wades and the Matthew McConaughey's who don't have the decency to say, hey, I love the Seahawks. I'm rooting for Seattle. And I like when we get someone in here who is a real Seattle person and a Seattle hero. Griffey had the huevos to say that he loves Seattle. And our next guest is a Seattle person too, which makes me happy.
Yeah, so I'm fired up about our guest today. So our guest today is a Seattle legend and one of the most accomplished athletes, of all time, to be honest with you. And two-time NCAA champion, five-time EuroLeague champion. I said five-time, four-time Olympic gold medalist, 11-time WNBA All-Star, five-time first-team WNBA, four-time WNBA champion. That's right. And, she rocks the Seattle Storm. Please welcome the one and only Sue Bird. And Sue, I got your jersey on. What's up? We're back.
That's good luck right
Sue?
there. That's a playoff jersey. That's a good luck charm.
Playoff jersey. Seahawks are back in the play. How you been?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I just got done with my meetings. We just, you have the post-game meetings and everything else, and then, I was in the hyperbaric chamber, and I think I mentioned to you, you had a hyperbaric in the bubble, right?
Yeah, we did. That was all Jewel Lloyd too. She went and found like a portable one, set it up in her apartment. And I was going like 2.5 hours in that thing as often as I could.
Yeah, it's good for
nice.
you. I love being in that thing. It definitely helps. But
what's it like? Can you explain it to us non-athletes? What a it sounds frightening. It sounds like something from Mandalorian, some sort of weird carbonite bounty hunter punishment.
It's close to that. It's basically,
I was gonna say it's kind of like that.
You basically get this machine, zip it up, and basically it's good oxygen for you. So you're getting all that good oxygen, so you recover faster, basically, Jeff. But
wait, so you were able to have meetings while you're in it?
Yeah, that's the impressive part. I was gonna say, or it's just an excuse to like binge TV shows. That's basically. I was like running through episodes.
It is true. You can definitely get through a lot of episodes on Netflix. Speaking of shows, what kind of shows you like, Sue?
I like everything. I don't discriminate in the shows. It's got to grab me. That's my only rule. I feel like that's for everybody.
So you're like a mystery. You're like a mystery girl. You like mystery shows or no?
I like everything.
Dating shows?
No, so I don't really do the dating shows. That's kind of where in my elder years I've drawn the line. But like I like to have like a good drama, something that's gonna like suck you in. We watched recently Queen's Gambit. That was amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. But then I like to have like that comedy offset where like you can just kind of chill out. And I found Big Mouth. Have you guys heard of Big Mouth on Netflix?
No, I haven't heard of Big Mouth yet.
Yeah, it's Nick Kroll's show. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a cartoon, and it's basically like the show about middle schoolers going through puberty you didn't know you needed in your life.
Which means if that's your favorite show, Sue, if that's a show you're into, there's nothing I'm gonna say that you can get uncomfortable about. If that's the type of humor you're into.
Yeah. 0. We're good.
Jeff, what's your favorite show? What's your favorite show out right now?
I just referenced it, but Mandalorian has been fantastic. I'm a Star Wars guy, and this is like the best Star Wars thing, in my opinion, they've ever made. So I've just been watching that. It's been great. And then Ozarks.
Yeah, Ozark is amazing. I love Ozark. So that's a good show. It feels so real in Ozarks. So Sue, obviously you've been in the bubble in 2020. You've had a lot of other things going on. You've been watching Netflix and chilling and everything else in your hyperbaric chambers. But what else have you been up to in 2020?
Yeah, just a normal year. Honestly, the other day I came across something that was like the month of March is 3 months away. And I was like, where did this, because I feel like March feels like 10 years ago, but also yesterday. It's like one of those weird years where I don't even know what happened. But I was just like everybody early in the quarantine, just at home. I was actually on the East Coast for that. I essentially got like stuck. I was out there when everything shut down, so I just stayed. And like didn't do much. Ordered a Peloton immediately, like so many others, I'm sure. Tried to figure out how to work out, and then immediately got into negotiations for the bubble. Went to the bubble, then all of a sudden was out of the bubble, and now it's like, oh, we're locked down again.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What happened this year?
Speaking of Peloton bikes, I ended up sending my sister one because she plays at Stanford, and they had to shut down the whole school, so she had to stay in a room for 14 days or even longer, actually, I think even, and had to, have no workout, no access to the gym. So all she could do. So I sent her my Peloton. I ordered a new one so she could get it right away, because Peloton was a little bit slower on that part of it to get it to her, just because of the process of COVID and delivering it and all that stuff. So it was a whole process, but the Peloton bike reigns true. Who's the person you ride to all the time? You have a person?
I feel like anytime. Oh, of course. So full disclosure, the woman who's like my strength coach, she kind of picks my rides based on like my week and so I've only taken like 4 instructors. So I'm Ali Love.
Ali Love's my favorite.
Tunde. Yeah, Tunde. I love Tunde. I love Alex. I think Alex might be my favorite.
Yep.
and then throw in some Olivia, and then every now and then Robin. Those are like, I guess it's 5. That's like my main
Do you know
rotation.
that the Peloton bike can hold twice the amount of laundry as my old exercise bike?
Good to know.
Yeah, that's what I've gotten from it.
That's what, it's like a nice little rack for you.
It holds everything.
I mean, I know you probably know this. There's cheaper racks. There's cheaper laundry racks than a Peloton.
This one comes with some hope. Like maybe someday I'll.
Okay. The ambition is there. Got you.
It's real.
So talk to me about the excitement of obviously, winning a championship again, obviously bringing it back home to Seattle. What does that feel like? Tell everybody, the feeling of winning a championship. Obviously we're in the middle of, playoffs right now and getting ready for that. So talk to me about just winning that championship and the process, especially going through the bubble and everything, and the excitement of it all.
Yeah. Well, the bubble definitely made it a little different. And it wasn't necessarily, okay, so obviously the whole season was different, but the championship itself, it still felt like, a team on this journey, and the process and the ups and the downs, that all felt the same with, of course, we were dealing with COVID, obviously social unrest, and what we were doing in the WNBA was happening. But once we got to that final moment of winning, the biggest difference was the no fans.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Really what made it. Yeah, you really start to realize just how much they play a role, like in the emotions of it all, the highs and lows of a game. But then when you won, it was no like explosion. We still celebrated as much as we could, and I always say the best part about winning, 2 things. One, that night, you can never duplicate that night. It's always the best night. And then the off season, like I'm a champion for the next like 6 months. This is amazing.
Nobody can take it from you.
Exactly. So you just you start to soak that in.
Was it weird partying with masks on and 6 feet from each other and trying to hit them with the champagne from that far away? Was that very difficult?
We were in a bubble. So the beauty was I got to hit people with champagne without their masks on.
Up close? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, just right to the face.
That is so conservative.
So conservative. Well, also what's exciting too is you and Megan getting engaged too, right? So walk me through this whole excitement of this. Obviously, I'm a lover by nature, and Jeff, one day, maybe you, but
someday we're hoping. It's like the Peloton. It's all in the future for me.
Who's we, Jeff? Who's we? But anyway,
special someone.
Yeah, exactly. But Sue, talk to me about you and Megan. Obviously, y'all's relationship and just that feeling of getting engaged.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't think being engaged was going to make me feel different. I felt like for a long time with Megan, in a good way, like it felt like forever. We talk about things like in a forever kind of way. But then I have to admit, when the moment actually happened, and like, I mean, so this is the ring. So she basically had slipped a ring off her finger and was just like, oh, it's the only one I have here. Just wear this. So we don't really have official rings yet.
I didn't know that was allowed. I might get engaged after all. I didn't know you could do that. I thought
it was an impromptu proposal. Yeah, it was an impromptu proposal. So we'll give her the pass. We'll give her the pass. But it does. It feels different. It feels like a little more, I don't know, just official.
I remember when C and I got engaged. Like, there's nothing better than saying like the word fiance. You guys like use the word fiance like a lot. Like, it's like one of those things that makes you feel special, doesn't it?
A little bit. I feel grown.
Yeah,
that's really what it is.
Mature.
I'm an adult. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool feeling for sure. Well, so listen, Jeff, you got another question before I kick you off of this thing, and before I get cooking with Russ here? And
I'm excited to listen to you two cook. That's what I'm excited to do.
Yeah. So Sue, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go one-on-one, me and you, talking about greatness, legendary success, just everything you've done over your career, really highlighting you and just everything you've done, and just obviously you've been a great friend. You've been an inspiration. So I really want to pick your brain on a lot of things and let our fans, DangerTalk and your fans really know who you fully are. So we'll have some fun here. So Jeff will hop back on here soon. But so Sue, obviously you were born in New York State, right? Where were you born exactly?
I'm from Syosset, New York, which is on Long Island, so a suburb of New York City.
So were you always a fan of UConn growing up, or did you always see them play basketball, or how'd that come about?
Like, yes and no, more no than yes, but there was a little yes. There's actually this story that my intramural team, so we'll call it like 5th grade, my coach, he had like some connection with the St. John's women's team. And so he took us to a game.
Yep.
And we were kind of going to be, we were the halftime show. So, you might go to a local team's play, and then like they let kids run on the court at halftime and mess around. And they happened to be playing UConn that game. And it's one of those things where had I never gone to Connecticut, I don't know that I would have even connected it. But that was one of the first times I saw like high level basketball, college level basketball being played. And it happened to be UConn. And it definitely stuck in my head. So then you fast forward, 10 or so years, and it's kind of ironic that that's where I ended up going.
It's kind of crazy. When you were young, like I have this distinct image of my sister, for example. When I looked out my window, I had this window, and I look out. We stayed in a little cul-de-sac, little corner of the end of the road, and there was a basketball hoop. My sister was 4 or 5 years old and doing reverse layups with my dad, and that's a fine memory that I have in my brain about my dad and my sister's relationship, and just how my sister started loving basketball so much. And when can you take me back to when you were young and when you really started falling in love with basketball? Do you have like that image, that moment in time when you were really young, and you really could go back and say that was the moment that I started learning the game?
I mean, there's actually, I feel like I just had 5 different moments kind of rushed to my head. It was a sport. So soccer and basketball are my first loves, but there was always something different about basketball, and it came pretty early. I mean, my mom, there's an ongoing, story in my family, like legend. My mom had to lie to like the camp down the street to get me in. I was in like kindergarten. You had to be in second grade. She was like, yeah, she's in second grade. But right away, I wanted to be in the mix, whether it was locally in the park with the kids in my neighborhood, whether it was that camp, and then finally when I joined teams. But I think the one moment that really sticks out was I joined my first AAU team, which, times are definitely changing with how important AAU is. But for me, that was like, AAU was it. That was your ride or die team. I was with the same team pretty much my entire, AAU existence. And that was when you like went to the big competitions. That's when college coaches watched you in high school. So I went to my first AAU tryout in 5th grade, and I made the Long Island team. And we went to a tournament and we lost to the Queens team. But the way it worked was, and this was to go to nationals, and AAU nationals, I'm telling you, was like
Big deal.
Biggest deal. And I was upset. And then the coach comes up to my dad and is like, hey, we're allowed to take guest players. Would your daughter want to come with us? And it's like, I knew it in the moment, but looking back, the minute I joined that team, it changed everything. Because now all of a sudden basketball, like, well, first of all, being selected as a guest player, it made me be like, oh, I must be pretty good.
So this is your MJ moment of, when you were in high school, middle school. This is your MJ moment right here.
Yeah, it literally changed everything. Had I not played for that AAU team, who knows what happens?
Yeah. So did you talked about soccer and basketball. Were you better in one when you were younger? Like, were you actually better in soccer, or was basketball like, man, I was dominant in basketball when you were young?
Good question. I think I was pretty good at both. Like good enough so I ended up choosing basketball, like solely basketball, after like going into my junior year of high school. But up until that point, I was getting college letters for both sports. So I was like pretty even. I was pretty even. Yeah.
So take me back to the decision of you deciding UConn. What was that moment
I
like?
almost went to Stanford.
Oh, you did, huh?
That was on my short list.
Everybody hear that? Stanford won today, actually.
I know, I saw it.
That was a good game. But take me to that decision between, even having to decide between UConn and Stanford. Obviously, you're from the East Coast, but making a decision like that, to pursue obviously basketball, to try to go for your dreams and everything else. That's a big decision. So take me for every young kid out there who's listening and making that decision, what made you decide UConn in that moment for you? And I'm sure some other kid wants to hear, how that can help them.
Yeah. So the short answer is that's really where my heart was telling me to go. That's the short answer. There was just something about, I was drawn to it, whether it was, the fan support they had, which at that time was unprecedented. They were sold out every game, whether it was when I finally got to campus, like being around the team. Of course, the coaches plays a huge role in that. There was just something about it where it just felt right. And I started there because if I rewind back to the start of the process, schools like Stanford, and then my third school was Vanderbilt. Those schools kind of like crept in on UConn. And now all of a sudden I was seeing this other world, and Stanford's a great example. In California, Palo Alto's beautiful. I mean, honestly, looking back, it's kind of crazy I didn't go. Like as an adult,
did you take a visit?
Yeah, I visited.
Oh yeah, it's tough now.
Yeah.
The fact that you went all the way out to Stanford and visited there, and I was
Oh, I
jealous of
know.
my sister when she took her visit, and I got to go out there and see everything. I'm like, this is where you go to school,
I know.
like
I was like, there's a lot of palm trees. What is this place? It's like magical here. As an adult, that's where I would much rather live there than
yeah,
Stores, Connecticut. Like there's nothing going on in Stores. And it got tricky at the end of my process. And for people, when you get recruited, it's like phone calls, it's letters. They try to like wine and dine you a little bit. You take your visit, and then at some point you're making this decision. And at the very end, I remember one of the final conversations I had with Coach Auriemma. He was just like, "Oh, like, tell me what you're thinking, what you're feeling." And I was like, "Well," I'm like, "my heart is telling me Connecticut." It always was. It really was always, that's what showed up. But I was like, "But, some things have crept in and my head is kind of telling me, maybe I need to look at these other schools."
hmm
And he literally was just like, we were on the phone, and he was like, "Well, I hope you follow your heart. Like, let me know," and hung up. And I was like,
uh,
"Wait, what? Wait." But in all honesty, that was the best advice in that moment.
yeah,
Because even my parents are huge into academics. And my dad was like, "Are you sure you don't want to go to Stanford? Like, this could set you up for life." And I was like, "Yeah, there's just a pull." And so I think the moral of the story is there are definitely times when things can get confusing, but usually your gut, your heart, usually that's telling you what to do.
yeah, for sure. I think that is you have good discernment for sure. For that situation for you in your life, and what did Coach Geno teach you? I think was the biggest lesson that you learned from him in the process.
Yeah, I think a lot. He taught me a lot. I would say my demeanor, my mental toughness, my personality on the court, 100% is what he taught me. But the biggest, I think, lesson that really shaped who I am as a player, he would always tell us, actually two things, but the main one was he would always tell us, basketball is not a game of how to, it's a game of when to.
hmm
And for me, especially, that ended up being almost like a mantra because I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm like not athletic, but I'm definitely not the most athletic. I'm not running past people. I'm not jumping over them. I'm like 5'9", average size. Honestly, average. I'm like way short in the WNBA.
Hey,
I'm average
I'm
in
right here
life,
with you,
but
Sue. I'm right
yeah,
here with you. It's
exactly.
all
Yeah.
good.
You got to find other ways because like athletically, I can do some stuff. Like I said, obviously, if you play professionally, you're athletic, but I had to find other ways. So it was never about could I shoot, could I pass, yeah, because everybody can do those things. You get to a
Mhm.
certain level, everybody can do those things. But it's about separating. What I found was about separating myself was the when I was doing it. Making the right decisions, making the right plays, when to shoot, when to pass. That stayed with me forever.
Yeah. So I think one of the cool things that I learned, I remember going to my first Pro Bowl, it was my rookie year, and I got to be around Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger was there and Drew Brees and being around those guys and talking to some of them. Drew was one of my favorite quarterbacks, obviously of all time, and just being around him and just I watched his body language, I watched his attention to detail and everything else, which I thought I always brought to the table, but just observing a guy who's been in the league for I don't know 14, 15 years at that point, or 13 years or whatever it was very interesting along the way. And one of the things I asked him, I said, you went from San Diego Chargers, to obviously New Orleans and playing for the Saints and everything else. But what was the switch? Like, what was the switch? What was the thing that you learned the most? And one of the things the thing he said was it was the process of elimination. It was like one of the things I understood was I could see the defense and process it as I was approaching the line and processing and knowing how to get how to get to this and how to cancel that out, and at the same time how to look guys off and move the defense to where I wanted to move them, and then place the ball where I wanted to place them. And I think about point guards. I think about my sister all the time. I watch her play, and they just play UCLA, as I said earlier, and it's like, you watch a guy like LaMelo Ball, do what he's doing right now, and just
Yeah.
watching the people dish the ball, watching you dish it for so many years, so beautifully and effortlessly. Almost, you get in this quiet space almost. You know, I think when you drop it back in the pocket, you get in this quiet space of time where all those decisions happen like that. But you've already visualized them. You've already processed them. When you're breaking the huddle all week, you've been thinking about it. You've been processing it, what somebody may do here or there. Take me to that process for you, as you're playing, you're bringing the ball up the court, and it's a key possession in the game. Somebody kicks the ball out to you, they get the rebound, they kick it out to you. How does that process? Walk me through the process of how your mind functions in that checklist or whatever happens in your mind.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, the thing I've learned, you have to have an open mind in
Mhm.
those moments. You can't predetermine. I feel
That's
like when
good.
players start to predetermine things is when mistakes happen. Because then you're not reading what's happening, you're hoping.
Yeah,
You're
that's good.
hoping it's going to happen. So you
Mhm.
have to have this balance of that open-mindedness, but also, like you said, this checklist of sorts. You know that, if a player hedges on this, okay, then I can split it. But you can't come off thinking I'm going to split. You just have to know it's an option you have in your pocket, in your back pocket. And I think what all that for me, a lot of what that is just, I don't know, a combination of experience that helps. You've seen it all, you've kind of experienced it all, and you know how to process it all. A lot of it is being prepared. That was the other thing that Coach Auriemma really hammered home was he would always use the analogy of like taking a test. He was like, "How do you feel when you walked into a test and you've studied? How do you
Yeah,
feel when you didn't?" And he's
it's
like,
like
"You always want to be the one that studied." I know we talked about this before, but I like it really resonated with me, the confidence that you feel walking into that test when you have studied. So I've always tried to have that with my play. So a lot of it comes back to watching the film. A lot of it comes back to putting yourself in your workouts, right? Like when you're working out, putting yourself through really difficult scenarios, setting up your workouts and your practices. Like when my coach, and I'm in my off season and I work with a coach. If she, is giving me a workout and I get out there and I start doing it, I'm like, this isn't real. I can just sense it. I'm like, this isn't real enough. This isn't hard enough. You want it
right.
to be so impossible because come game time, then it's easy.
Yeah, that's good.
You've seen all these, you've seen everything. Come game time, it's easy. And then you can just allow yourself to read and react because you've already done the work. So it's kind of like all of that put together puts you in that moment and you don't have to think. It's
Yeah.
not about thinking per se. It's more about just reacting and maybe you have in the back of your mind like, okay, if that happens, I can do this.
So take me back to then talking about reacting. Take me back to the games on the line. I'm taking you way back here. Okay, so I'm taking you back.
Okay.
Games on the line. It's a Big East tournament game. I think it's you guys versus Notre Dame. Okay, you hit the game winner. I mean, it's arguably one of the greatest women's game ever. I think there's a book written about this game. And so
Yeah.
so tell me in that split second of a moment, take me to that moment and take me to that play or that shot
Yeah, but yeah, you're taking it way back. That's like
way back.
2001.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the beauty of that game, there was like so much drama. It was like us, Notre Dame, the rivalry. It was snowing outside. Like there was so much happening. And the truth is, I turned the ball over right before that play.
Mhm.
So the possession before, I don't remember exact score. Possession before, we have the ball, maybe up one. And yeah, we had to have been up one. So we have a chance to go up three, go up four. I turn it over. So one of my biggest, I guess, hurdles as an athlete is leaving stuff in the past.
Mhm.
That's definitely something I dwell. I get mad at myself. So that's an ongoing process to this day. Obviously, you hope you get better at it as you go, but that's one of my Achilles heels for sure. So that's all I was thinking about was that turnover. And the one thing I've learned though, it's like in sports, like those things are going to happen. Those bad plays, you're going to make mistakes. It's inevitable. Nobody plays perfect games, perfect seasons. So luckily, because of, you know, probably more than anything, the coaching that we had, I was dwelling and I was thinking about it, but I also knew there was going to be an opportunity. I was going to get, if I didn't get it, we were going to get an opportunity. So the way the story goes, the player Ruth Riley came down, we fouled her, she was on the free throw line, she made one but missed one, so it's a tie game.
Mhm.
And I had told Coach Auriemma, like, what do I do? And he was like, just get it and go. And the minute he gave me that green light, the best part about it is I can't really tell you what I was thinking because I wasn't.
That's good.
He was just like, get it and go, like make a play. I was like, okay. Took the ball out and came up and made a play.
Well, it's amazing how in the midst of moments, our mind becomes really simple.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times the outside world wants to make everything complicated in those clutch moments. But the biggest moments, the best players in the world, in my observation of some of the greatest athletes and leaders and everything else, is in the midst of chaos, they go with what they know. They become simple. They become really, really clear in that moment.
Mhm,
And so it's cool listening to you and talking about just how you weren't really thinking, because I think
mhm,
when the game's on the line, you're just feeling and you're reacting and you're playing as you were playing, and you make those decisions. And I think that's the part of that clutch gene that you have just naturally. It is who you are, right? And you become that person. You become that moment. You wake up to that moment, and here it is, and let's go after it. You talked about one of the Achilles heels of being able to transfer a bad play and leaving it behind. How
mhm.
have you worked on that? Like what is an example of something that helps you? Because I think not just in basketball, but even life. Because I think that a lot of times with everything going on, 2020, COVID, people, situations, racially, socially, everything that's going on in our worlds, but just from a simplistic way, like, is there a tactic that you use? Like for me, for example, I find a spot in the stadium that I look at.
Mhm.
Look at a spot, and I find a spot in every stadium, and I look at that one word or one thing, or it could be a blank wall, whatever it is, like, and I find that spot and I look at it, and it brings me back down to zero. It neutralizes me. It keeps me okay right here, no matter how good or how tough it's been. Some people look at the foul pole, in baseball. But like what Nomar Garcia Part used to do his wrist and his gloves, and but what have you ever used anything as you've been playing or even in life that has helped you?
Yeah, so it's really funny you say that because as of probably 2, maybe 3 years ago, I've started to add meditation
Mhm.
to just like my everyday. It's more so something I focus on when I'm in season. I find it really helps me just like calm my brain down a little bit, actually shut it off a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I need
So
to
it's
do
really
more.
nice. Yeah, no, it helps for real. And something they teach, I just use the Headspace app, and something they teach is to kind of visualize and have that happy place,
Mhm.
right? So for you, it's what you find in the arena. So for me, what I found was I was always sitting and I had my hands crossed like this. And so there'll be times I've taken this with me where, God, I've never talked about this. There'll be times where I'm on the bench. Maybe it's right before the game is starting, so that maybe they're about to announce starting lineups. Maybe it's in a timeout, and I'll just kind of clasp my fingers, look down, and it kind of takes me back to that a little bit, just
Oh,
like
that's
a
good.
calming situation. Yeah. The other thing is, though, before I found that, was which I've also taken with me, and I would call this only the last like 5 or so years, like not that long. I just, that inner voice,
Mhm.
I've finally figured out how to like get it to say, just be nice to yourself.
Mm.
Like, be kind to yourself. It's okay. Yeah, you had a turnover. It's okay. Just be kind to yourself. Because I felt like I was just beating myself up as I was a younger player, just getting really down and really almost like in search of a perfect game,
Mhm.
knowing it doesn't exist, but still
Yeah.
trying. And so now I'm just like, just be nice to yourself. And it's really helped me big time.
Well, I think that's a beautiful thing, because I think that, I go to that image of you, clasping your hands. And for me, I go to this image, this location that I was when my dad was on his deathbed, and I was a freshman in college, and I was playing NC State versus UNC. I'm taking you back now. I was NC State
Okay.
versus UNC. I'm sitting on a bench in my freshman year. My dad's on his deathbed, and I'm sitting there, and we're working these boys. Okay, just so you know, just we ain't supposed to beat these guys. They got everybody first round, everybody, and we working these boys. Okay, and I'm
Mhm.
sitting on the bench, and I remember looking up. I'm looking up in the top left corner of the stadium, and I remember sitting there, and everything got really calm. And I always say to myself, "Go to that place. Go to that place." And so I literally feel the bench again. I actually visualize the bench and everything getting calm again. And that's kind of me clasping my hands. That's my moment of I'm here. And so you think about language and how significant language is. I started a company called Limitless Minds because I'm so obsessed with the mindset part of it. Because the reality is that that's the one thing that we can control is our language, how we speak to ourselves, how we lead, how we communicate with others, how we overcome obstacles. Because the one thing that we do know is that we're going to face obstacles along the way, no
Right.
matter how no matter how big or little it may be. If you're trying to be great at anything, there's going to be obstacles along the way, and those challenges
Absolutely.
actually are what changes us. Those challenges actually are what optimizes us to become the best version of ourselves, I think. And so some people fear them, and I think the great ones, they look forward to them. And so I think
Yes.
that shifting your mind and that growth in your thought process and how you've been thinking about it over the past 5-6 years is actually really fascinating. And it's really cool because it can be something so simplistic as you clasping your hands. It can be so simplistic as go to that place. Like, and so I think that is a really critical part of remaining neutral and remaining that knowing that, hey, there's going to be obstacles along the way and everything else. And so, I mean, I guess that's what happens when you're the number one pick, overall. And you just, you're 2004, you win your title. You 2010, you win your second title. You win your third title, I think, in 2018, and then you win it again in 2020. I mean, 4 titles, and I'm trying to get to my second title here. So, I mean, what were the similarities between, you know, the first, second, third, and fourth championships and the teams that you had? Because I think it's so interesting because you've even won Euro titles and you won 5 of those. So, of all the championships and everything else, is what is the commonality between the team and the leadership and the growth, and what does that look like?
Um, exactly what you just said. I think the common ground between and all those teams you just mentioned, totally different identities.
Yeah.
Totally different. Some similar players here and there. 2018 and 20 is essentially the same team, so that's kind of like one group, but totally different teams, totally different identities. Yet when things got hard, those teams always found a way to win. Always. And I think we kind of enjoyed the grimy game even more than the game where we won by 20. Those are kind of easy, right? Everything's going your way when you're winning by 20. If you've won a game by 20, all the shots were falling, the defense was on point. Cool. And a lot of teams every now and then stumble into those kinds of games where it's just your night, the other team's off night, whatever. But it's the grimy games. It's you're down by 10 in the fourth quarter. How do you figure it out? Or it's a tie game with 1 minute left. What are you going to do? You have to get one stop. It was those teams that ended up winning championships always found ways to win in those moments. And all those moments look different, but they always found a way. And even in the losses, didn't bog them down. It was just boom, on to the next. And I think that was really, and from what I can remember, that was always the common like personality trait amongst those teams.
Was there one particular grimy game that was so difficult and able to overcome that kind of sticks out in your mind?
It like sets the tone for the year. Man, I'm trying to think. 2020 was 2020 was an interesting year because we only played 22 games. I actually suffered a bone bruise in my knee. I was super bummed. I mean, the most bummed I think I've been in a really long time. Because I've had like season-ending injuries, which obviously suck, but at least you're out and you're like, okay, I can't come back. It is what it is. I just have to rehab. I've never really through my career had the in and out injury. We're like, I'm good, I'm not good. I'm good, I'm not good. And that's what this was. But there was a point in time where just because we were in a bubble and they were trying to get a season in, it was super cramped. Mm-hmm. And the team had to play 10 games in 20 days. So every other day for 10 games. And by game 10, I mean, I didn't have to play these games. They were done, cooked, gassed, like just. And it's funny because this wasn't a win, this game I'm about to tell you about. We ended up playing the Aces on that last game of this stretch. And it's the team we met in the finals. And they were killing us right from the jump, just all over us, up by 20. By the end of the game, though, we made a little bit of a run and we cut it to, who knows, 10, maybe 6 or so in the fourth quarter, made a little bit of a run. And I think what our team found in that game was like, man, we had everybody was exhausted. But they found that they could, and even though they didn't win, we didn't win the game, they found like this other place they could get to in order to cut this game down to 6 after being down 20. So even though we didn't get the win, there was a confidence after that game. Nobody was down in the locker room. And if anything, we knew, okay, let's see, let's what happens, let's see what happens when you see us when we're fresh. And it kind of instilled this confidence in us. So I don't know. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't about winning or losing. It was just about finding that confidence in that moment.
Yeah, I think there's those moments, those matchups. I go back to, for the Seattle Seahawks, I go back to, I think it was the year we won the Super Bowl. We played in Houston. They were working us on they had I think Matt Schaub threw for a whole bunch of yards and everything else, and we were struggling on offense, and we found this little magic of time. I think I hit Doug Ball on the sideline. We were backed up, and he toe tapped it on the sideline, and here we go. And like, it's amazing how those games can actually challenge, but also change you as a team. And there's two perspectives to look at it. You either say, okay, that's who we are, or this is who we are. And you have to make a decision. There's a choice to make. And I think as a player, there's a choice to make. I think as a leader, there's a choice to make of which way you're going to lead, which way you're going to take your team, which way you're going to communicate the conversation in the locker room after the game, or post game 2 days after, or the night on the bus or on the plane. How do you communicate where we're going, and how are we going to challenge it? This is the truth. Okay, we didn't play very good, and here's why, and getting to the truth, but also adjusting it to say, okay, this is also who we are too. Let's not forget about all the good stuff we've done. Let's not forget about all the shots we've made. Let's not forget all the great passes you made, all the rebounds, or all the great touchdown throws or catches or runs or tackles you guys have made. Like, let's not forget about that part of it either. That's who we are. And so I think there's an interesting conversation there. And so I always kind of love that part of it. And talk to me about, and we've had some really amazing guests on here. We've had Shaq, we've had Candace Parker, we've had Dwayne Wade was on here just recently talking about, this magical moment between him and Kobe Bryant, right? And in the Olympics, and being in the Olympics, and just putting on the gold chain and the gold medal, and just how that feeling of putting on the gold medal, standing right next to him, and those magical moments. But take me to your greatest moment in the Olympics, and the greatest takeaway, more so than anything else, from playing the Olympics and winning that, and just what does that feel like? Because I don't get to play in the Olympics. Football.
Yeah.
I don't have the fortunate situation to be able to play in the Olympics. So take me there.
So I mean, the Olympics are amazing, because I always say, like, the best story I can tell to describe that is after my first Olympics. And listen, obviously, I understand that the Olympics is huge. You're representing your country, but I'm 23. Like, I've watched the Olympics, and this is my first time there, so I'm soaking it all in. But am I really understanding? You know what I mean? Like, am I really getting it? I think when you're younger, you always have this. There's always this kind of thing in the back of your head, like, oh, I'll be back. You're like, oh, I'll do it again. So it's like, am I really appreciating it? And on the flight back, we actually we chartered with the men, and then we landed in New York, and then we all kind of went on our ways. So I'm on a flight to Seattle. And I'm in my seat, and the flight attendant comes up, and she's like, hey, are you Hyperbaric? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, did you just come from the Olympics? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, do you have your gold medal? And I was like, yeah. She was like, oh, okay. Like, the pilots really want to see it. And I was like, okay. Before I know it, that gold medal is in the cockpit, but then it is being passed just up and down the aisles in the plane. Everybody wants to touch it, see it, feel it, take a picture, all this stuff. And it really was, I know it was, well, listen, we were on a plane. I knew I was getting it back. It wasn't going anywhere. But it was that moment where it really hit me, like, this is what the Olympics are. Like, yes, okay, you're playing for your country. Like, no. You're playing for your country. Everybody is cheering for you.
You didn't just play.
Everybody.
You won for your country too.
Well, that too. Yeah, that helps. But from like a basketball standpoint, it was leading up to those Olympics. And we do we have a World Cup also. It's every 4 years opposite the Olympics. So it was actually 2002. I made the World Cup team. I'm fresh out of college. I'm like legit a couple months out of college. And I was kind of, honestly, when you were talking about the Pro Bowl, this is what I thought of. Because now I'm on the team with Lisa Leslie and Cheryl Swoops and Dawn Staley and Tina Thompson, and just like all the players that I've grown up watching, that I've seen, and I'm in awe, and I'm shy already by nature. So now I'm like, 10 times shyer, and I'm just kind of observing and watching. And I guess I was doing that a little too much because I wasn't really playing well. So we're on this trip, and I'm not really aggressive. I'm very tentative. I'm just kind of, in awe of the whole situation. And this was a game changer for me. Cheryl Swoops pulled me to the side and was like, you're here for a reason, right? And I was like, ha, 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 Cheryl Swoops is talking to me. I was like, yeah, sure. And she was like, no. Like, you're on this team for a reason. So you need to start playing like that. And I was
Gotcha.
like, oh, okay. And it just like shook me alive. And then it's not to say I went and, I was still young and I was learning the ropes, but it really changed how I approached all of those national team experiences from that point on.
So, Cheryl Swoop's grabbing you, telling you, "Hey, listen, like, you're here for a reason." Like, was that moment, obviously, you hearing that somebody as a great of an athlete and basketball player that Cheryl Swoops was, and everything else, were there other moments like that, or was there a person that you really looked up to, like that you really admired growing up, that kind of helped shape you and change you, similar to how Cheryl, when she talked to you at the Olympics? Is there somebody that has inspired you to become the best version of yourself, that you can go back to?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that comes to mind is actually Jen Azey, another Stanford grad. Man, a
Mhm.
lot of Cardinal talk on here. So for me, if you take it back, so it's 1995, 96, and this team is heading to the Olympics in Atlanta, and I'm 15 years old.
Mhm.
And so, that's around the time where, I'm probably a freshman, sophomore in high school, whatever it is. I'm starting to get recruited. Like I said earlier, I've now chosen basketball as my sport. So I know this is it. This is where I want to go to college to play basketball. And, you turn on the TV and you see the national team. And I actually saw them play in person. So I was lucky. They had like a scrimmage of some sort, like a, you know, not a preseason game, exhibition game. So they have an exhibition game in Philadelphia.
Yep.
That's like, 2.5 hour drive. My AAU coach takes, a couple of us and we go and watch the game. So whether it was TV or this live moment, I see this player. She's 5'9", dark hair, in a ponytail. I'm like, wait a minute. Like,
That's
that looks
me.
like me. Yeah. And it was that moment. And I've never said this to her. I probably should tell her. But it was that moment where, everybody talks about that, if you want to, in order to be it, you got to see it. And that was my be it, see it moment. So I was like, wait a
Wow.
minute, if she can do that. And then I started my dad actually showed me some documentary they did on the Stanford team that won when Jen was there. It was like 1990, 91. And so now I'm like seeing this player like, oh, like she won a championship in college. Oh, she's on the Olympic team now. I was like, wait a minute. And that's when dreams like that's when I was allowed, I allowed myself to have those dreams. And the Olympics was always the goal. Never, the WNBA didn't even exist in that moment, like literally didn't exist. So for me, it was always the Olympics. That was always the ultimate goal.
Well, that's crazy. So Jen, just so you know, you've inspired Sue Bird to become Sue Bird, just so you know. But as I think about that, you've inspired my sister. I think she's playing, obviously she's playing basketball at Stanford and everything else, but you really inspired her. She loves going to your games, by the way. She loves, when she's back home in Seattle, she gets to go see you guys
Yeah,
play.
that's awesome.
But I think one of the things that I think about is also the next generation, the legacy of who you've been able to inspire. Is there somebody that you've talked to, or somebody that you think is going to be the next version of you, at least, that you've been able to inspire along the way?
Version of me. Funny enough, so Jordan Canada, who
Mhm.
is the other point guard on our team, the one thing I always tell her, I'm like, Jordan, I can't play like you. You can't play like me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, meaning it's hard. You never want to copy.
Be
You want
you.
to take and you want to learn. Yeah. But I will say one of the best compliments I've gotten was an interview that Courtney Vandersloot, who now is probably the best point guard in the WNBA. I mean, it's unbelievable what she's doing from just her play, her assists, record-breaking years, like year after year. So it's been really fun to watch her development from year one to now, and just her demeanor. But it was probably like, who knows, 4, 5, 6 years ago, and we did this interview together. And she basically said that her favorite part of my game was just when I'm on the floor, like you feel like everything's going to be okay. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
and she was like, I'm playing with you. And she was saying now that she's played with me, because this was a national team camp. She's like, I feel it when I'm on the floor with you. But even when I watch you, like when you're on the court, everything just feels like it's going to be okay. And I
So
think when you're a leader, when you're the point guard, that's a huge compliment. And she just was like, I just want to be like that. I just want to be this player that when I'm on the floor, everybody knows it's going to be okay. And I think you're seeing that in her now. That was part of her development. She's there now. So I feel like, just from that conversation, maybe I was able to help her in that way or inspire her in that way.
I think it's a
Pretty
beautiful
cool.
point. I think that, when you watch certain players come up to bat or certain person come up to shoot a free throw, or there's only 20 seconds left and Sue Bird's bringing the ball up the court, like you're like, we gonna win. Like, we gonna win this game. Like, let's go. Like, you just got a feeling. Like when Michael Jordan dribbles the ball up the court against the Jazz, like he's gonna hit the shot. Like there's just a feeling about it. And 9 times out of 10, they hit the shot. And I think that's a calming feeling, not just for
Mhm.
teammates, but also for the next generation, and how you've been able to do that. And I think another part of the next generation I think about is like how many years have you played, professional basketball? How many years is this now?
It's 20. I had to
20
take,
years.
yeah, I had to take like 2 seasons off for surgeries,
Yep.
but I still played overseas. So it's like 18 years in the WNBA, 20 total.
So 20 years. Okay, so take me to how you've taken care of your body. All those games, because
Yeah.
I mean, people don't understand. Like they have no clue, Sue. They got
No clue.
no clue, Sue. They have no clue, Sue, on
Yeah.
how to take care of their body. Like you think about like all the work that it takes, not just to get here, but also to stay there. But not just to stay there and be like good, but like be the best in the world. Like to be the top at your game, to be in the top of the game, like to be elite every day, every week, every year, to
Mhm.
give your team that chance to win it all every year, give your team that best chance. Like, what does that look like? What is your setup like? How have you taken care of your body for that many years? Because I'm curious, because I'm super obsessed with this process of the mental side, the physical side, the spiritual side, the emotional side,
Mhm.
the stress that you have to take, the weight that you have to carry. You're carrying Seattle on your shoulders over here. So all of that weight, how do you deal with that? And what does that look like?
Yeah. I mean, what I ended up finding in the later part of my career, I wish I had started when I was 21, because I think you'll agree with this. It's when you get to this level, what separates, you from another quarterback, it's not like, you know, it's not huge reasons. It's not these
Yeah.
big differences. It's like 1%, right? Like maybe you have a couple more touchdowns than the next guy, maybe have a couple more assists than the next player. It's not, it's not these huge gaps. But that 1%, what I have found, you can find it in your body, in your health, in your conditioning. You can find that 1%. And where I live is, and I've said this before, everybody's good at this level. Everybody's good. And for me as a basketball player, we can all do it in the first quarter. Most of us can do it in the second and the third, but not everybody can play at that high level with
Yeah.
2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. A lot of people get gassed. So my whole world right now revolves around not being tired at the end of the fourth quarter, because that's when you separate. Because it's not like people forgot how to shoot or forgot how to play. They're just tired. And so it all comes back to that. And then
So what does that
along
look
that,
like? So what does that look like? Like what when you said that, like, I want you to keep going on this, but what does that actually look like in terms of like to not be tired in the fourth quarter? What are you doing to not be tired?
well, first of all, it all happened months prior to that,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right? It's nothing. It's not like I wish there was some magic pill I could take. That's not what's happening. So it's all about, I work with a strength coach, a performance coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I joke, it's like I text her and Megan the most in my life. Those are like the 2 relationships that are most important to me.
Yeah.
And every day, we have a shared calendar. She lives in Portland. So we actually don't get to work in person as much as, I think either of us would like, but we have a shared calendar, and every day I wake up, or, I can look at it a week beforehand. I kind of go through and I see like, all right, today is this, and this, tomorrow's that. What I'll say is those workouts are all geared around being fresh. So my workouts are hard, but they're not there to break me down.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah.
there to break me down just enough where I can recover
Keep going.
and then keep going the next day,
Yeah,
and then building and then building. Yeah. So I do a lot. So to get really specific, I'm in the pool a lot. I'm on the Peloton a lot. Yeah. I do Pilates a lot. I'm on the court only 2-3 times a week. I'm not playing basketball every day. It would be too, at this point in my life. By the way, this is a 40-year-old talking. I'm sure like a 22-year-old Sue would be saying something different. I can't be on the court that much. It's like I'm a tire. Okay. I'm a tire and I only have so much tread left and I have to save my tread. That's
Yeah.
basically what it is.
It's true.
And
I say that all the time.
yeah,
You gotta save your tread. Keep going though.
no, I was gonna say, and then, so I'm lucky enough to work with somebody amazing who
Yeah.
kind of tells me everything what to do, which is nice. I don't have to think, just do it, which is the hard part. And then nutrition.
Wow.
That's the other thing. That and sleep. I would
Are
say those
are
are
you
like the pillars.
are you like a so sleep and nutrition? So the things that I
Mhm.
like, I feel like I'm really great at. Like I love swimming, I love moving, I
Mhm.
love running, all the agility stuff. I'm fast, but I'm more quick than anything else. Like my awareness of what's around me, I think
Mhm.
is something that I always constantly work on. Like you should see something that we one day you and I and Megan,
Yeah,
we got to work out together.
I want to
Like
come work
it
out.
would be
Yes.
fun because like all of the awareness stuff that I try to do. Um, I don't like everybody seeing it, but all the awareness stuff that I do, I can give these young bucks clues. But
Yeah,
but all the
I
young
feel you.
all the stuff that I try to do on awareness and everything else, what's around me and how I react, just really playing point guard, playing quarterback, it's all about reaction and all that too. And so, to me, that's a major part of it. And then ultimately, like if I feel good, I'm going to play good. So that's one of the
Yes.
things that I always try to do. Like I'm not trying to kill myself, where I hurt myself in the off season, but I'm trying to push myself where I prepare myself for the full
Mhm.
season. And so that's kind of like the cycle of like this longevity game that I'm trying to play. I think about the 20, right? Not about this year, but I think about the 20 years. I
Mhm.
think about the whole cycle of it and what does that look like and everything else. And so the things that I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, I grew up in the East Coast, I grew up in the South. So like nutrition wasn't really a thing we thought about. Like we were going,
Yeah.
I grew up broke. So we didn't have much. So we would go, I'm getting quarters and stuff and dollar bills from the piggy bank and this and that, just saving up, trying to go get a burger or whatever it may be and
Yeah.
everything else. And so, but now like life has changed and it's shifted. And so now as I'm thinking about the last 10 years of my career, or 12 years of my career, of however long it may be, plus years, as I think about that, it's all about, sustaining this ability to perform at a high level. And the process of it, the mental side of it, but also the nutritional side, which is something that growing up in Virginia, East Coast, it's different. But then also too as well is this whole sleep thing, and so you try
Mhm.
to balance it. And to me, I had this weird philosophy. Okay, I'm gonna tell you my philosophy. Okay,
Okay.
so as I go into my philosophy, this
I
is
know. I'm
number
like,
three's
I'm
philosophy. Okay,
ready.
so what I do is play the game on Sunday. I don't sleep after a game at all. My
No,
adrenaline is just
impossible.
rolling. So like you're
Yeah.
very similar to me. So like I can't sleep. So my adrenaline's rolling. So take Sunday night out. I'm not sleeping. I'm not sleeping at all. So I may have gotten maybe 4 hours max, probably three realistically.
Mhm.
So Monday I get up, I move around, I get treatment right away, first thing around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, first thing. Then you go into Tuesday, Monday night. I don't sleep very much really either because I'm watching a bunch of film or trying to catch up and get ready for the next week. Tuesday, not much. So basically Monday through Thursday, I probably I probably get the maximum 5 hours of sleep a night,
Okay.
maximum, right? So
Yeah.
like it's one of those things because I think that you've won at least in playing football, there's so much information you have to take in, like game planning, and I got 450 plays a week, pretty much.
Yeah,
So
that's crazy.
there's stuff every day and changing and formations and all that stuff and all this stuff you got to know. But as I'm thinking about that for 5 hours, max, I feel like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I can be really, really, really great off of 5 hours of sleep. And then when I hit Friday, which is date night, I'm not sure if you guys do date night, but we do date night. So Friday we hit date night, and then we have our little date night, do our little thing, and then next thing you know, I get my sleep and I rest like crazy on Friday night and then Saturday night, and I get about 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep Friday, Saturday, and then my awareness level, boom, it's like this, and it's like I've been going all week for 5 hours every day, all day meetings from 6 a.m. to 7 o'clock at night and just working and then to get treatment and everything else. And then next thing I know, Friday, Saturday, that's when everything becomes really still and really calm. And then boom, here comes the game day. And so, so I've been working on the sleep thing, but I'm going to send you just because you mentioned sleep. And I'm not sure
Mhm.
how many hours of sleep would you say you get like before a game? Like, do you sleep well?
Yeah, I sleep pretty well.
Yeah,
I
you
have,
sleep
and
easy.
my issue is like I can fall asleep 2 seconds.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
snoring
I'm
right away.
out.
As
Yeah.
soon as I hit the bed, I'm
Then
gone.
yeah, gone. But I do suffer. There are some bouts of like, those, what are they called? The witching hours. It'll be like 3 a.m. and I'll be like,
Wide awake.
Yeah, for like an hour. So those I struggle with a little
What do you
bit.
do? You hop on the gram or something? What are you doing? at 3
No,
o'clock in the
I
morning?
oh God, to forget it. That would be. I've started to put like just like sometimes just ambient noise behind something to like take my mind and just like away from whatever it is I'm thinking about and settle it. It could be a movie, it could be music, just like noise
Yeah.
that can distract me. That actually helps a lot. But I mean, if I had to guess, I'll say 8 hours. Sometimes more, sometimes less.
You sleep good, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you and Megan a new bed. I'm gonna send you guys a new, just because. Oh, I'm serious. I'm gonna send you guys a Molecule mattress, Arctic Lux
Oh
bed, because
yeah.
I
I
know
know
you
about
guys
Molecule. We
like
got a
performers.
Molecule.
We gotta, yeah, it's good. I'm gonna send you a brand new one, Arctic Lux. It's gonna be cool. You gotta
And we
sleep.
have the air purifier
Oh,
thing.
it's the best. It's the
Yeah,
best. So
yeah, whatever it's called.
I'm gonna shoot it to you guys because we got to keep winning championships. Like we got to
That's
keep
true.
doing our thing. So I got to make
That's
sure I
true.
take care of you guys
If
from
that's
a
the key,
performance
sign me
standpoint.
up.
That's definitely part of it. So as we talk about us, Seattle sports and everything else, we've had some fun talking about some of the legends of the game and everything else. But who would you say the greatest women's basketball player of all time is? Who would you say who would be your greatest male player of all time?
The female one's tough because I'm in a position where I've played with them all. So it's really putting me on the spot. If I have to go all time though, it's Diana Taurasi. And we've got Brianna Stewart is going to be knocking on that door. So is Lauren Jackson, already is, or she doesn't play anymore, but it's Diana for sure. And for men, it's interesting because I feel like I grew up with Michael Jordan in one sense, like I was a kid, but then like as a professional, I grew up with LeBron. So it's clearly between those two. I change my answer every time I get asked this question. So for today, we'll say, since he just won, we'll go LeBron.
Okay, all right, there we go. So that's the top of the top. And so as we continue to think about some of the greatness and legacy, I love talking about this conversation. Let's keep going about it, but I have to do this ad read. I'm gonna hit this ad read. I'm gonna come in right back to you. Okay, you ready? Let's see how I do. Give me a grade from 1 to 10. Okay, here we go. Basketball is back, and to celebrate the return, DraftKings, a leader in one-day fantasy sports, is giving new players a free shot at $1 million top prize. If you haven't tried daily fantasy apps in sports, what are you waiting for? Get in the action now to claim your free shot at $1 million top prize when using code DangerTalk during sign up. Playing daily fantasy basketball is simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against the competition. Feel the sweat like never before. Every dunk, steal, assist means so much more like a DraftKings daily fantasy lineup. For all you football fans, even though the regular season is beginning to wind down, there's still plenty of action to unfold. With DraftKings, payday comes every day for players. So what are you waiting for? Head to the app now. Download the DraftKings app now and use code DangerTalk during the signup. This week, DraftKings is putting you in the action with a free shot at $1 million top prize. That's code DangerTalk. And you can get a free shot at $1 million top prize only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Yeah,
you nailed it.
Okay, good. If Super says I nailed it, I nailed it. So talking about the current, obviously the NBA is about to start here. Tonight, Wednesday night, it's about to start. And it's obviously Monday now, but it's really Wednesday here. And obviously the WNBA about to start back up and everything else, and everything you guys have going on. And talk to me about just kind of how you're feeling about everything and the whole process of COVID and another season and that whole process.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky. So, our usual schedule is training camp is like end of April. So in a lot of ways, we're going to get to see how everything goes with the NBA with COVID, because they're not in a bubble. I think right now the WNBA, we're trying not to play in a bubble. The bubble was great, but the bubble was tough. It was tough. And they're talking about financials. I'm like, I don't think you'll convince players to go. Forget the financials. Like it was tough. So yeah, we're in a position where I think we're all just going to be watching the NBA like usual as fans, but also from a WNBA perspective, seeing how it goes with COVID. Because it's obviously it's a tough time. It's raging again in our cities. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So basically, Sue Bird's saying is we will wait and see.
Yeah, that's
it's true.
all I got.
But I think if you think about the NFL and how we've gotten through it. It's been a crazy process. I mean, every day we're getting tested. These things are swabbing our nose and doing this and that. And every meeting, they got cameras around the buildings and making sure we're wearing our masks. And it's stressful process. It's a stressful process. And to be in the playoffs, knowing that we're going to the playoffs, to have this opportunity to play this week against the Rams and everything else, to win the NFC West. And it's a whole thing. And then there's nobody there. As you said earlier, there's nobody there. So it's kind of, it can take the joy of the game away a little bit from you, but also knowing that, wait, people still want to see us play. People still want us to, see us win championships and all that, and repeat. And like you guys had the opportunity to do. And for us, to get back to the Super Bowl again, and trying to hold that Lombardi trophy up again. And so, talking about the NBA season, like, you see these guys making crazy amount of money and all that, but you see these, free agents and teams and players and all that, but going from different places, and you see a guy like the Greek Freak staying in, Milwaukee to play there. And, and you watch these guys and you're watching them play and everything else. Who are you watching that at complete amazement at, like, the ability that they have, but also from a team part of it, like, who do you think is going to win it all this year because of either that player or that team in the NBA? Making your prediction here.
Yeah. So there's this James Harden trade pending situation that I feel like could maybe sway my decision. I'm a big Denver fan because I worked in their front office a couple of years ago. So I always have my eye on Denver, and I feel like Jamal had just like a huge breakout in the bubble. He kind of showed that he can carry a team. Jokic has always kind of been that guy where somehow he gets it done. I mean, he's one of the players where I watch in amazement, because you're just like, wait, what? How did you just spin move through the what? How did that even? He's so much fun to watch. And I heard there was, I read on, the social media machine that
social media.
that there was a James Harden potential trade to Denver. So I'm like, if that happened, that might change my answer. I might have to go Denver in that scenario. But right now, it's probably a Laker repeat. I mean, I hate it's like the boring answer, but they just were good and then reloaded like never before. The Dennis Schroeder signing was crazy to me. That was huge.
That was crazy. Well, what about like the Nets? Do you think they do you think they have enough to get it done too?
So that's my answer for the two players that I like to watch the most, Kyrie and KD, for sure. Yeah. I mean, watching Kyrie is unbelievable. The things he does, I don't think people really even fully can understand what he's doing out there. His footwork, his balance, it's at his size, his ability to make shots over pretty much anybody. I always say it's like my category is like, would you pay to watch them play? And I say this like as an athlete, I don't know about you, but like there's definitely, I'm like spoiled. Like if I'm not like, I'm used to being on a bus, like into the arena, into the bowels, I get out, boom, I'm there. I don't got to deal with anything else. So for me to go to a game and the effort it takes, even if you're in a suite, there's still like, you got to go, you got to get up there, the whole nine. So it's like, if I'm going to pay to see someone play, that's really saying something. And Kyrie, I would pay top dollar to see Kyrie play any day. And the two of them together, that's going to be crazy.
Yeah, they have a really good team. Their owner, Joe Tsai, is a good friend too. They're committed to the culture, culture of the team, and they've done a really good job with the Brooklyn Nets with that. And I think Joe and Clara Tsai, they've done a really good job with the team with that thought process and building around that culture. And so that's why I think a lot of guys want to play there. But it's been cool to see that. I think it's a really cool point. Would I go pay to go see that person play?
Yeah.
As an athlete, it's a really cool thought. Yeah, it's a good point. Speaking
of truth teller, it's the truth teller.
Speaking of seeing somebody play, obviously, you and your own family here, your fiance, you and Megan, you guys are the best in the world at what you do. So what's it like waking up every day knowing that, like, are you the best? Like, no, are you the best? Like, like what is that feeling like with you guys athletically? Do you guys train together? Like, what take me into your home and just take me to like the daily flow of what you guys do and what y'all's world's like.
Yeah, we train together as much as we can. There's some times where like sports specific stuff comes out to play where not even like, obviously if I'm on the basketball court, she's going to go do her soccer field stuff. And there are some other times where it gets sports specific, but anytime we can do the workout together, we're doing it. And it's fun because it's not competitive in any way. it's really nice to have a partner to go through these, like, what can be a hellish workout, but knowing somebody's there, right next to you, pushing you. Quarantine was probably like the funniest, because I actually had to go buy a pair. I couldn't get in a gym, so there was no basketball to be played. We couldn't even find like a treadmill to run on. So lucky it was summertime. I had to go get me a pair of cleats. So I was out there on the grass. And when I say I don't run outside, it is like not a part of my training at all. So here I was, just not used to it at all, running on the grass. She was kind of showing me the ropes, put me through some workouts. So that was fun.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So who would you say out of you two is the most competitive of you two?
I think, okay, I'm more competitive from like start to finish. I wake up, I'm competitive. I go to bed, I'm competitive. Like if we're, playing backgammon, I'm competitive. If we're, messing around playing I'm competitive. Megan's probably more competitive in the game, in the way she shows it. I'm like a little more subdued. I'm quiet, even keel. And she's like an emotional player, like shows the emotion. We always joke. She'll be like, "Hey, are you excited for your game?" And I'm kind of like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm excited, but not." And I'll be like, fast forward a week. I'm like, "Hey, you excited for your game?" She's like, "Oh my God, I can't wait." She like loves the games, but otherwise she's not competitive at all. Yeah. Like in her everyday life, she doesn't really get involved in that way. So that's how I would describe the differences.
Yeah, so me and C, like first of all, we work out together. We'll do certain things together, and she's a super amazing athlete. C is, but what's also interesting is that like I think C gets more hyped for my games than I do. Like I'm probably more like you. I'm like this. I'm like, okay, I'm like, cool. And like I'll come home like, yeah, I won. Like, but and Sierra's just like super fired up. But I always love that. But one of the things I love about you guys too is what you guys mean to the world. Like not just y'all's greatness and the success of who each of you are individually in your own right, and all the 20 years of playing ball and dominating basketball, and all the amazing things she's done in soccer and who she is worldwide because of soccer, but also what you guys mean and how you guys have had impact socially and culturally. Can you talk about that? Because take me into your home about that conversation about like, hey, let's talk about this stuff. Let's make a change here. Let's do this. Like, how has that process really developed, and how has that really come to fruition for you two along the way? Because I've been truly inspired about it, and me and Sierra talk about it all the time. And when we got to do the ESPYs, me and Steve were talking about you too, and just how cool y'all's connection and connectivity to the world too is, and how much you guys really mean to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm really lucky that, like our conversations, just when we're hanging out, a lot of times revolve around women's sports. I'm lucky that I get to, pick Megan's brain. That I think the best part about our relationship in that way is that we challenge each other in a good way. Because I think these are tough conversations. And as female athletes, there's just so much that swirls. And, sometimes it's a conversation about equal pay. Sometimes it's a conversation about, lack of media coverage. And I think what happens is when we do get to talking, one might say one thing, the other says another. And at some point we get to that finish line, and it's kind of like, yeah, this makes sense. And then we're able to share that with the world. And so it's just, it's minds being put together, and then you're able to figure things out together. And it just makes it, I don't know, it makes it that much more powerful. I think it makes it that much more genuine, because sometimes you might have an idea, but you need someone to poke holes in it. You know what I mean? But not in like a negative way, not in like I'm on social media just talking, talking shit way, like not like that. You want someone who's really helping you get to like find a way to articulate exactly what you're thinking and feeling. And I think because we're both going through it in different ways, but we're both going through it, we just help each other find ways to articulate it. And the one thing that I'm sure you can attest to, it's like people are drawn to that. They're drawn to, often like people who are being authentic to themselves, and people who are just being real. And so for us, we are trying to, I mean, it sounds really dramatic, but I think we are trying to change the world. And to be honest, you wearing my jersey is a part of that, because I think what we're really trying to do at the end of the day is change the conversation around women's sports. Because sometimes it's as simple as the optics of it, or how people frame it, or how people talk about it. So when Russell Wilson rolls up to a game in a WNBA jersey, people are like, oh, and that just helps change the conversation in some households, the conversation amongst some people. And that's, and that's how you start to change the world.
Well, I think you guys are going, you know, surpassing all the ideas of just simply changing it, but actually doing it. Just not just igniting the conversation, but actually seeing it through to actually making a change. And really inspiring people to change. It's not just even the networks and that; it's actually inspiring people to change.
Mm-hmm.
And like getting people inspired to watch women's sports and like and getting people to understand like how significant and how important each individual's life is and all the things like I think about all the things that women have to take care of in their own personal lives as well, not just playing the game and getting prepared, but everything else that you have to deal with. And I think that the reality is that to me, I brought this idea up to Candace Parker, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. Like I think that what we should do, and ESPN's a part of this. What we should do,
Okay.
and Sue Bird and Candace Parker, you guys gonna be partners in this thought process with me here. But I'm just throwing it out there because I love women's sports because my sister plays it. She's a
Mm-hmm.
basketball player. I've watched it for my whole life and just been super inspired by it. I just love watching greatness. So, anyways, so my idea for the whole women's sports thing and the growth of it is I think we should have Women Wednesdays. Like how Sunday is
Uh-huh.
football day in America and it's all football and then everybody
Yeah.
sits
For the
there and watch.
boys.
But like,
Yeah.
yeah, but really like on Wednesdays, like you have Thursday night football, you got Friday night high school ball, you got Saturday college football, you got this and that. But to me, like there should be Wednesdays should be strictly around women's sports, and that's all they should show
Mm-hmm.
every day, all day for the most part, and the night games and all that stuff, and you get to watch the best teams and watch these great conference championships or whatever it may be on sport. Because a lot of times, like even watching my sister's basketball games, I gotta find it online, and like the number one team in the country, I gotta
I
find it
know.
online. It's so hard to find
It's a
it.
grind. Yeah,
And the
it's a
reality
grind.
is that if we're actually gonna make a change, I think there has to be like a specific day where we actually watch, and get to have the opportunity to grace our minds and our eyes with how amazing women's sports is. And I think that we've never had that day. We've never had that where this is what we're gonna do. I think
Yeah.
I think that would be one step in a direction of change.
Yeah. So it's interesting you say this. I've never talked about a day like that. But what I have seen just in my own experiences, watching Megan's experience, obviously I was a college basketball player. Women's sports does lack like its own stage. So
Mhm.
like you just said, like football has Sundays. I mean, it has other days too, but football has Sundays. And then you have a Super Bowl. And it's like even NBA, TNT, is Thursdays. There are
Mhm.
Tuesdays now too. Shout out to Candace. But that's like Thursdays is TNT. And ESPN's gonna have games on. Usually it's like Wednesdays, I think. And so you kind of have an idea, but then they have the finals, and that's like their huge platform. Women's soccer, they have the World Cup.
Yep.
Women's college basketball, they have March Madness and the Final Four. And it's like when sports, when they do have these like built-in stages and platforms that everyone kind of knows and connects to, it does make a difference. So I totally agree. Like there's something to that you know what day it is and you know what to expect on that day. It does change how you view sports. It does change what you're, exposed to.
Yeah, it allows us to record our direct TVs and let it, hey, watch the game. Like, when you're waking up that morning, hey, I want to watch this game tonight. Or hey, honey, can you record that? Or hey, son, can you record that game? Because I want to see this game tonight. Okay. Like those moments like that, I think are we got to make sure that there is a shift in the atmosphere and even the networks to be able to create that opportunity. I think it's really, as you mentioned, it's really creating the conversation, but also not just creating the conversation. I think it's the transformation of actually creating the opportunity for men and women and boys and girls all around the country, all around the world to have access to see fully the greatness of women's sports, because I think that's the need, which in turn I think helps with financial pay and everything else, because now people are actually seeing it and it really
Mhm.
helps. And these networks, it's an obligation that I think as a leader in sports, as a male, and as other networks and people that we know and resources and everything else, we have to present ideas where we can actually help grow the game, and we got to give the opportunity for people to see it. So I think that's something that I've always been super passionate about. One of the ideas I've wanted to throw out there. So, anyways, so this has been an amazing conversation, and I'm super grateful for you. Uh, this has been an absolute blast to get to know you and have this deep dialogue about greatness, legacy, about your relationship with Megan, about just everything that you have going on in your world, training, what it looks like to be 20 years in the game, like just dominating the game, to just some of the cool conversations you've had. So, I guess I'm gonna have to let Jeff Dye back in here and see what kind of questions you have, Jeff Dye. But it's been really cool along the way, just getting to know you and observing you, but also witnessing your greatness, your success, everything that you've done has been a true joy. And I can't wait to keep getting to know you even more. So hopefully we got to have a dinner date one of these days once COVID's over.
Yeah, for sure.
A double
We'll have a
date.
COVID party. A post-COVID party.
Yeah. Hopefully after we win the Super Bowl or something like that, we can all get together and have some fun.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Thank you so much. And
dinner date. I'm in. Dinner date. I heard dinner date. Let's do this.
You don't want to be the fifth wheel though. We need to get you someone, right?
Are you suggesting I can't find a date, Super?
Well,
That's a rude way to start.
You were talking about your Peloton was your mood board earlier and how you had that ambition.
Hey, I got some coals in the fire there, Subi. Don't talk to me like that, all right?
Well, what I was gonna say was, Russ, congrats on the playoffs. Now that Jeff's back, I'll say it.
There it is. Thank you, Subi.
There we go. We're in the playoffs.
That was a callback to pre-record. Go ahead, Russ. What?
Well, I'm rocking the jersey. I feel like we got a great chance to win it all, hopefully, so I'm feeling good about it.
I would also like to make a very quick announcement to let Russ know that he has been in the Pro Bowl many, many times, but it is official. You are in the Pro Bowl again this year. Congratulations, Russell Wilson.
I like the news.
That's awesome.
You look at you with breaking news over here, Jeff.
Hey, breaking news. That's what I do. Also, let me just tell you, we've all been talking about how bad 2020 is. Russell Wilson's been crushing 2020.
2020's been good. It's been good, but also bad along the way.
Every week, there's been some reason for us to say congrats, or here's a thing, here's another record. He's in the playoffs. Russ, you're crushing it. I want to be like you when I'm older.
Well, I want to be like you too, Jeff Dye, I guess.
You're a good man. And I want to be like Sue Bird, to be honest. I did have I have a question for both of you guys. You both have successful and charming and top of their profession spouses. What is it like? And I know Russ kind of touched on this a little bit, but what do you feel? Because I know being an athlete, you guys are maybe a little competitive. I just like you to be super honest and as vulnerable as possible about what you feel when you see the person you love doing what they do at the top of their game.
So I was lucky enough to go to France for the final of the World Cup, and I was calm so I'm generally calm during Megan's games until she steps up for those PKs, those penalty kicks. Whew, those are nerve wracking. And I know that she's prepared. So there's like a little voice like, it's fine. This is normal for her. But I get really like a nerve that a nervousness I've never felt as a player, but as like the fan, super nervous for the PKs, super nervous. They drive me nuts.
Well, one of the things is like watching sports for me, like being a fan of like of watching somebody, like I get nervous watching somebody else versus like me like playing. So it's like
I think it's a control thing that we both have to deal with.
and also you like, especially when you love the person, like you're like, come on, let's go. This is the one. Like, but like in a normal game, if I was talking to myself, I'm like, okay, cool, we're here. But for Sierra, like being married to Sierra and watching her go on stage and stuff like that, like I know like she gonna tear up the stage. So like I ain't even worried about it. Like I'm going there to like sit in the corner, be in the back corner, and like do my own little groove. Like you've seen the movie Hitch. Like I'm like the guy in Hitch. Like, I'm gonna be in the pocket. I'm gonna be in the pocket. You know what I mean? Like I ain't gonna get outside the pocket. Like I'm just gonna stay in the pocket and do my thing. But meanwhile, I'm like my head, I'm moonwalking, I'm doing all this stuff. I'm doing the 1-2 step in my head. Like I'm feeling it. Like I'm hitting every groove, every move. But yeah, I love watching C go on stage. It's always a blessing. Just I just think that it's cool. When you're with somebody that's really special what they do and seeing all the hard work they've put into it and that coming to fruition and people being inspired by it, and fans. And it's cool with music. Like The thing about music is this, and I always say this to people: sports and music are the two most entertaining things in the world. They bring people together. It's this magical thing of how it brings people together, and we all feel like we're one. And so with music in particular, it's like listening to Sierra's song. Like it was amazing with like "Level Up," for example, in that song, and just how that's really inspired a lot of people, and that singular that dance by itself, and how virtual it goes. It's like that's amazing. Like meanwhile, I'm over here, throwing a football around, and it's like that can inspire a lot of people, but like music, it changes everything. So anyways,
You
Well, it's
guys
funny you
are.
say that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sue.
Real fast, real fast. My favorite thing about music is it's like soundtracks to moments. And My Goodies is the soundtrack for our 2004 championship. When I say we played My Goodies, like before the game, after the game, at the club, all My Goodies was our jam. So
what was that
it.
song? What was that song about?
My Goodies, My Goodies.
Yeah, what is that? What does that mean?
Don't worry about
Jeff
it.
I have to tell you about it later.
All right, fair enough. I will say, just to piggyback onto that question, when Sue Bird walks into the Key or walks into one of these arenas to play basketball, there's this presence where you're like, oh, there she is. That's super. When Russell Wilson walks in, he's got the suit, he looks smooth, and when he comes out through the tunnel, you do think that's Russell Wilson. That's Russell Wilson. So you guys, that's your reality. That's your life. I mean, that's really what you have come into your zone. It's normal for you in a way. Is it strange to feel like the +1 or the date of the, what I'm saying? That's a whole different element. Like when you walk into a music arena, yeah, or like a soccer, thing, they're not going, hey, that's super, or that's Russell Wilson. Does that feel strange for you?
Well, for me, I'll go first here. For me, it's not strange, but it's always funny. It's always like, oh, that's Sierra's husband. That's Sierra. That's him. So I'm always like, yeah, that's me. That's right.
That is me.
Right. So that's always fun for me.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. It's fun. Like we'll be out and there'll be people, and I think like Russ, I'm sure it's like you can tell when someone sees you. There's like this moment where you're like, okay, they saw, and I'll be in my head like, oh, they just saw me, and then they'll come over and they'll be like, hey, can you take a picture of me and Megan? And I'm like, ah, damn.
That's great.
No, it's fun though. It's fun.
I am excited to get us into the 2-minute drill. Are we ready for it, Russ?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do this 2-minute drill. So you ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll. I want to know if Sue Bird, the way the 2-minute drill works is I'm going to give you 2 minutes. We know Russ is the king of the 2-minute drill in the NFL. We've made our own little version on this podcast. I'm going to ask you 2 minutes of rapid fire questions. You're going to go first. Then Russ is going to answer the same or a variation of the question right after you. And we'll try to get as many in as we can in 2 minutes. Okay. You ready for that?
Yes.
All right. And we're going to have the producers put 2 minutes on the clock. Try to be honest, Sue Bird. Russ, you try to be honest too, all right?
All right, let's go.
It's never been a problem, but I try to say it so it seems a little more edgy. All right, 2 minutes on the clock. And we're in. Your favorite dish as a kid?
Egg noodles with butter.
Mac and cheese.
I don't know what egg noodle is. All right, your favorite karaoke song?
Humpty Dumpty.
Oh, Man in the Mirror.
I'm sorry, Humpty Dance. My bad, Humpty Dance.
Yeah. Shock G. All right, who would be better at their spouse's career? Russ as a dancer and a singer, or Sue as a soccer player?
Sue as a soccer player.
Sue is a soccer player.
Okay, sure. We both agree. All right, your favorite superhero?
Superman.
I'm gonna probably go with Superman too.
I thought you'd say Batman. We've seen it before.
I was gonna say Batman.
Would you rather a blowout win or a close call that you win? What do you prefer?
Blowout win.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go blowout. You don't need to make this thing close.
So relaxing. They're so relaxing.
And as a fan, we love them. Super Bowl. Hey, it was a beauty. All right. Current player, and you might have answered this a little bit, the current player that reminds you of yourself for both of you.
For women's basketball, Courtney Vandersloot.
Russ?
I'm gonna go with Kyler Murray.
Okay. I don't like a division rival, but okay. Mm-hmm. The last thing that you cooked?
Chicken.
30 seconds. Russ?
Last thing I cooked? Probably ribs.
All right, your favorite mascot?
Doppler.
ever. Really? All right.
Oh,
Or my-
Sasquatch. I like a
Squatch. Yeah, it's a good one. Russ?
I'm gonna go with I think Blitz is pretty fun. The Seahawks
good.
Blitz is actually pretty
Is
fun.
a
It's
good
pretty
one.
fun.
All right, 10 seconds. Your favorite pre-game song.
My
5
goodies.
seconds.
My
Okay.
goodies. My goodies.
Russ?
I'm gonna go with I be super chill mode, so I go with like gospel music. So I'm gonna go with I'm gonna be ready by Yolanda Adams.
I've never heard of that, but I have heard of My Goodies, which means Sue Bird wins the 2-minute drill. That's it. That was good. We've never crowned a winner either. I'm going to start doing that, I think. I've got one more question for you guys, a little bonus question for the 2-minute drill. And this is just because, I don't know, get a little more personal with you guys, with the fans. If everything went back to normal tomorrow, right, and there was no pandemic, there was no COVID, it all just disappeared, what would be the first thing you would do?
Go to dinner with Russell and Sierra.
Exactly. That would definitely be one of my first things for sure. Because I'm trying to get out of the house. I'm trying to go get some grub. Like I ain't been.
I miss
nowhere.
dinners. I miss dinners a lot.
I like date nights. I would probably.
miss 'em.
I would probably go somewhere like that. And if not dinner, I would probably. I miss going to Seattle Children's Hospital too. To be honest with you, like
Oh yeah.
I haven't been there in a while. So, we've been able to do the Zoom calls and stuff, but it's to be able to see a kid, which has been great actually, but to see kids in person is always a special moment for sure. So, but listen,
And
Sue,
mine was going to be to get dinner with you guys as well. So Sue took mine.
Perfect.
So Sue, one of the things that we do is at the very end is we always do everyday hero, and we talk about that everyday hero. So who will be that one person? And we have a company called Good Man Brand. We always try to give something our way, but who will be that one person that you'd want to call your hero?
So you
Or
just
somebody
reminded me of this.
or somebody who's doing something really cool.
Yeah, you just reminded me of this, but it's actually my answer like 90% of the time. My teammate Alicia Clark, who also does work with the Children's Hospital, she's amazing. Like juggles it all. She's in France right now playing, but just juggles it all, being a professional athlete, giving back to the community. I'm always inspired and in awe by her.
Well, I'm gonna have to send Alicia something from Good Man Brand and send her something dope from us.
Definitely.
And just tell her
Sue,
that's
you must be so happy you did this podcast. You just got a bunch of Good Man Brand. You got a free bed. I've been doing this every week. I haven't got anything. I haven't got anything. It's been wild.
Well, listen, Sue, it's been fun. Thanks for all you do for Seattle. Thanks for all you do for everybody that you encounter, you inspire. You are true inspiration. You've inspired my sister. You've inspired me. You've inspired the Wilson family home here. And I'm rocking your jersey. I feel good. I feel like a winner in this thing, man. Like I feel like I get to go make buckets. So anyway, I just want to let you know that we love you here, the Wilson family, and we love your family too as well. And we're just grateful. We're grateful for who you are. So thank you so much for joining DangerTalk.
I really appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me. Even you, Jeff. You're all
Thank
right.
you. Yeah, it was fun. I had a good time.
No,
He said, even you, Jeff.
Yeah, you've inspired me. Sorry, I'm a regular guy. I'll wear your jersey. Send me a jersey. How do you buy one of those?
Well, listen, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sue. You're the best. And thanks for joining DangerTalk.
Thank you.
All
And good luck in the playoffs and congrats on the Pro Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sue. We'll see you later. Thank you, Sue.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Okay. See you later. So Jeff Dye, we've had some amazing guests, obviously, thinking about Shaq, we've had John David Washington, we've had Randy Moss, we've had CP3, we had Candace Parker, we had Ken Griffey Jr., we had Joe Montana, we had Matthew McConaughey, talking about Greenlight's book. We've had Mike Tyson was cool, right before his big fight. We've had, Mark Cuban, Sierra, Dwayne Wade was on here. We've had some amazing guests along the way. Erin Andrews last week, she was pretty amazing. But Sue Bird, Seattle legend of the game, she's on my Mount Rushmore list for sure. For Seattle and just all the things that she's done, what she represents. What's the biggest thing you gained from that conversation, Jeff?
It was just cool to hear her talk about how she wasn't the fastest. She's not jumping over anyone or she's not beating anyone. I just kind of like that where, I like when someone can just tell me about hard work. I think that goes a long way as being a regular guy. I'm not an athlete, but I can identify with just working hard. I can't learn to be Shaq's size, but I can learn to work hard and I can learn to, do that extra thing and be prepared. I thought it was a little strange when she said the analogy that she holds on to is that the professor told her, or her coach, told her, it's like when you go to when you go into a test that you've already studied for, don't you feel way more confident that you've studied for the test? You go in there a lot more confident. I think that might be tough for a lot of college athletes to identify with, as most of them don't study for quizzes, but I liked it.
Oh man, you're funny. Well, yeah, she gave some amazing insight along the way, and I think that she's been around some of the greatest basketball players, some of the greatest leaders of all time, and I think that's been really cool. And I'm excited about next week's conversation. Obviously, this week we're playing the Rams. This week will be a great game. I think we should tell them this one. This is the GOAT. This is one of the guys.
Seahawks.
Yeah,
he played for the Seahawks.
Everybody out there listening, he did play for the Seahawks. But this week, the coming up here, we got a big week. Obviously, playing the Rams this weekend. And the following week, play the 49ers. And we've had Joe Montana on here, but now we got his receiver. We're gonna have Jerry Rice next week. So to finish up the 2020 year with Sue Bird and then Jerry Rice, I mean, does it get any better than this? I don't think so. Jeff.
The Rams lost to the Jets. We got the 49ers game coming up. We had Sue Bird. We get to talk to former Seahawk Jerry Rice. This is going to be huge.
Exactly. Former Seahawk Jerry Rice. So it'll be cool. So I'm excited to talk to Jerry Rice. He's been one of my favorites. I threw a pass to Jerry. I'm going to bring it up in the conversation. I threw a pass to Jerry. He ran a sweet slant route, and he was in his full suit, and I was getting ready for my game. He's like, hey, I want to run a route. I was like, okay. Boom. He ran a sweet slant glance route. Boom. Took it to the house. I got that ball signed. And it's framed and everything else.
I love that.
Yeah, Jerry Rice, man. I got to throw a freaking pass to Jerry Rice.
A lot of athletes don't look like they've maintained their physique and their stuff after then. Because when you're an athlete, you're burning 1 million calories an hour, and you're younger or whatever. And they always kind of look a little different when they're older. Jerry Rice looks like he can still play. He looks fit.
Yeah. All right, he's ready. So we're excited. So Danger Talk, episode 15 coming up. It's been a crazy 2020, but this has been fun. Danger Talk. We've learned a lot. We've gained a lot. And grateful for you, Jeff. This has been a blast.
Grateful for you, man. Congrats again.
All right. Stay out of trouble, bud.
We out.
Danger Talk. We out.